Hi everybody, my name is Vlad, I'm Russian, and today we will talk about the Eastern Slavs. I will briefly tell you about the main differences between Belarusians, Ukrainians and Russians. Because externally we don't differ much, but there are differences internally. All the figures in the video are relevant if you don't take into account the current events in Russia and Ukraine, because now it's impossible to calculate precisely. Belarusians are an East Slavic people. They have their own national state, Belarus, and there are about 10 million Belarusians in the world. Of these, 8 million live on the territory of Belarus. The United States, Russia and Ukraine also have large diasporas. According to the population census, about 5 million Belarusians, that is 60% of the population, indicated Belarusian as their native language. However, Belarusians mostly use Russian as the main language, especially in cities. They mostly profess Orthodoxy, but there are many Catholics, about 1.5 million people. Ukrainians, among all Slavic people, is the third largest, after Russians and Poles. There are about 45 million Ukrainians worldwide. 37 million of them live in Ukraine, 2 million in Russia, and there are large diasporas in the United States, Brazil and Canada. Now the numbers can be much bigger. The Ukrainian language is considered the closest to Belarusian. 80% of the population of Ukraine considered Ukrainian as its native language. However, these figures varies greatly by regions. So in the Chernobyl region, this percentage is more than 90%, and in the Crimea, it's about 40%. They mainly profess Orthodoxy as well as Greek Catholicism, which has about 5 million people. The next one is Rusyns, no Russians. Rusyns are small people who live in western Ukraine, northern Serbia, Hungary, Romania and Poland. In modern encyclopedic publications, Rusyns are referred to both Ukrainians and an independent ethnic group. Some of the Rusyns and a number of Rusyn organizations consider themselves separate people, some Ukrainians. In the Soviet Union, the Rusyns were regarded as the ethnographical group of Ukrainians. In other countries where they live, they are recognized as an ethnic minority. There is also a Rusyn language spoken by about 100,000 people. Also, some researchers consider that language to be dialect and not a full-fledged language. They profess Orthodoxy and Greek Catholicism. Russians are the largest Slavic people and the most numerous people in Europe. They have a national state of Russia, in which more than 80% of the population consider themselves ethnic Russians. There are about 130 million Russians in the world, and 111 million of them live on the territory of Russian Federation. There were also large diasporas in Ukraine, 8 million people, in the United States and Kazakhstan, 3 million each, as well as in Belarus, Uzbekistan, Latvia and Canada. But now numbers could differ significantly. They speak Russian, which is the 8th in the world in terms of the number of people who speak it as their native language, and one of the official languages of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan and some other countries. The main language of international communication in Central Eurasia, Eastern Europe, in other countries of the former Soviet Union. One of the 6 working languages of the United Nations and other international organizations. In total, about 260 million people speak Russian in the world. They mainly profess Orthodoxy, but a significant part of the population does not profess any religion, as Ukrainians and Belarusians.